Hello, YouTube fam. Welcome to another Starseed interview today. Hello, fellow light beings, Starseed beings, colleagues, and disclosure team, and welcome to our next interview. For those of you who are new here, hello, welcome to the crazy side. Just kidding, we're all super loving and friendly here. I'm Savita the Starseed, and buckle up for another fantastic ride with our guest this week, Mike. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mike Bodewitz. It's an honor to be here. I am eager to share my story. I have a lot of cool stuff to talk to you about today. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So Mike is a family man, and he's also super big into the whole Sasquatch community and the whole Sasquatch topic. So that's definitely going to be a new twist on our interview stuff today. So the
Yes.
first point on our outline is for you to go on ahead and tell us about your first experiences of the paranormal, whether it's UFOs, ghost spirits, Sasquatch, all kinds of stuff. Go right on ahead. Tell us the story.
So I want to talk about how I came into knowing my star family. And it wasn't something I was expecting. At the time, I was deeply involved with Sasquatch and communicating with them, learning about them and stuff like that. And I was not expecting to get into the star people and actually interacting with them and learning things about myself in relation to them. So I guess the best place to start out is when I had my first UFO experience. And, I kind of played around. I knew that I believe that UFOs are real and I believe the star people are real. But I really hadn't seen anything too much to, cause me to really believe and really connect with them. But my first UFO experience was I was actually sitting outside of where I work. And it was really early in the morning. I was working day shift and it was still dark. It was so early. And I was sitting out in my car, just kind of taking 5 minutes before I walked in the door to get ready for work. And I happened to look up, and mind you, I'm in like an industrial area. There's warehouses and everything.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of sky to see. And I look up and it looked like maybe 100 feet over the industrial area. It was a teardrop sideways. So it looked like a teardrop, but it was sideways.
Ooh.
And it just was completely horizontal with the horizon and just shot across my field of view. And it was so fast. I mean, it was like a second and it just went like that. And I saw it and it was a white sideways teardrop and it had like a little tail coming off of it. And it was so bright and it was just really level with the horizon. It didn't come down like a meteorite or anything. It was flat with the horizon and it was booking. It was going somewhere.
It was trucking.
Yeah. And I just did I just see what I thought I saw?
What a way to wake you up in the morning too, huh? Forget coffee.
Yeah, and I was like, I knew it was a UFO as soon as I saw it. It was an inner knowing, and I knew that it wasn't a meteorite.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was intellectually being guided, and it was going somewhere, with a purpose.
Ooh, that's so cool.
So I went in and I told my, me, like I'm like a little kid, went in and told my work buddies, and they're like, really? And they already knew I was into Sasquatch, so they're like, okay, but I told my work buddies and everything, and that was actually my first UFO sighting. And many years later, in meditation, I received from my star family, that was us showing ourselves to you.
No way.
So it was a way for my star family to kind of jog me into motion with them, to kind of say, hey, we're going to get you started here,
Wow, how about that?
So
Sorry, one more time. How long in between when you saw the craft and when you were told that it was your star family?
It was probably like 3 or 4 years afterwards.
Okay.
And it's all just like a progression. They tell you things when you need to be told and stuff like that. And I remember thinking back on, and I actually asked the question in meditation, was that you? Or what did I witness? And then they told me, yes, that was us. And we showed ourselves to you on purpose to get you to kind of jog you into motion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my first UFO experience. It was pretty amazing. I mean, I can
bet.
see it like it was just yesterday.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
and after that, other UFO sightings I've had, I went to a Sasquatch conference in Chewelah, Washington, and it was an amazing event. I mean, there were amazing people there. The energy is off the hook there. Chewelah, Washington is just great. There's actually a pyramid outside of Chewelah, Washington. It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like it looks like a hill, but it's shaped like a pyramid, and it is actually a pyramid. So the energy is
Interesting.
off the hook. The star people go there very often. The energy there is amazing. But while I was there for like 3 days, I believe. And we were camping and everything.
That's so
And
cool.
at night, what we would do is everybody be hanging out, having a good time, singing and stuff. And we'd sit out there in lawn chairs, and the sky was gorgeous. It was clear, it was perfect. And we would sit out there and look for UFOs. And some people had the green laser, right, to signal them and stuff. And they had, people had a green laser, and they would like, flash it stars,
Yeah.
you know. And that's what they look like. They look like they're stars. They're white, but they're not actually stars.
Yeah.
And we've had many, like within the 3 nights, just watching the sky, we would see them like stationary. They would strobe at us. It looked like a star, but stars don't strobe.
No, they don't.
And then it would start moving.
Yep.
Um, we saw them change course, just automatically stop and go the other way. You know, they would flash us. They would, just turn on and get really bright and then start moving. They did numerous amazing things. Um, Probably the most amazing encounter we had with the UFO up there was we went up into this little area. It was like an amphitheater in the forest, and there was chairs and stuff for people to sit while somebody was on the stage speaking and stuff. But we would go up there at night, and like a group of us would go up there. We'd lay down on the seating and just look up at the sky and just see if we could see any. And we were all talking, maybe we'll see one, maybe we'll not, I hope we do, stuff like that. And then out of nowhere, there was a UFO that was so low that it just turned on its lights and literally lit up the forest around us.
Oh, that must have been pretty.
Yeah, we're like, oh my gosh, you guys seeing this? And it
Yeah.
lit up the forest, and we saw it hover over us. And just through the treetops, there's like a little area through the treetops. We saw it hover over us slowly and go out of sight.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, it was amazing. It lit up the forest, and it was just bright white. We
Yeah.
didn't see any lights or anything like that. It was just bright white, a bright white, huge light just go over us.
Oh my
And it was
God.
freaking amazing. After it like disappeared, we were like, just like, oh my gosh, that
Like,
was
did we just
awesome.
see
Yeah.
that? Was that
I
also
saw
near
so many
Junction?
UFOs just within those 3 days I was at that Sasquatch conference. I mean, it was life changing.
Especially being out there away from the city. Like me personally, I'm in a very popular city in Florida and I hate it. So anytime I go to Pennsylvania, I'm in the middle of nowhere and it's so nice to have that beautiful clear sky and you can literally sense the difference in the energy.
Right.
And it's like that's
Yep.
why it's more common to see all that kind of stuff when you're in those kind of areas because there's not a lot of air traffic, not too much population and stuff. But was
Right.
that also like teardrop shaped, or was that more of like just a disc-ish or spherical?
You really could not see any kind of outline. The light was so bright, it looked like a giant freaking spotlighter in the sky. You couldn't see any kind of outline. It was just a giant light that just moved across.
Oh gosh.
And it was just so bright. We couldn't believe how bright it was. And it was like, we're looking around and the forest was like lit up.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. And I was told everybody that showed up at that conference that year, they left different. They left changed. They physically were not the same person. They were being upcoded. Their DNA was being upcoded and upgraded while they were there. So they physically left a different person. And their vibration and consciousness was raised when they left. Damn. It was an amazing event.
I bet, like something like that, like even like you could literally tell it's just how passionate you are about the story too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. Oh. I mean, when we got to the conference, I stepped out of the car, and me being me, I love to take my shoes off. I love to go barefoot no matter where. I took my shoes off. I stepped on the ground, and the ground was trembling. It was like you could feel it just trembling with the energy.
Oh God.
And it was like that the whole time we were there.
That's so cool.
It was literally just shaking because there was so much energy. It was freaking amazing. I loved it.
It's wild. Oh wow. That's freaking wicked.
That's basically been my UFO encounters physically that I've seen. I've actually called them out before, but I'll get to that later.
Yeah. So before we move on to like more into depth with the Starseed side, what other encounters have you had? Because you mentioned the Sasquatch part as well.
Right.
Tell us about that.
We could actually do a whole show on Sasquatch. I mean,
We might have to.
I've got a ton of encounters with Sasquatch. So probably the craziest thing that's happened to me when it comes to my star family is I go to bed at night, right? And I can feel if there's anybody in the room.
Yeah.
My wife's already sleeping. I work swing shift. I come to bed late. But this night I came to bed and I felt the star people were in my room. I felt that I couldn't physically see them, but I knew they were there. I could feel them. They were in the room, and there was 3 or 4 of them. I think there was 4 of them. And I remember going in there, and I felt them, and then I felt 4 of them. And they were basically just in there waiting for me to go to sleep.
Why? So you could take me above or what?
Yeah. So I was like, I said, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And they were just waiting. I could feel they were just waiting. Like, you gonna go to sleep or what?
Sleep.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, and I crawled in bed, and I laid down, and they were just waiting, and I just said, I love you. Thank you for being here. I'm so honored.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning recalling a dream I had, which actually wasn't a dream. But I woke up and I remembered that I had a dream, and I was walking in a hallway on a spacecraft. And the hallway, I remember walking, and I'm looking through my eyes, right? I'm walking, and I'm walking down this hallway. The ground is white. It's just like there's a light, an ambient light coming from the all around me. And it's all lit up somehow. The ground's white. The walls are white. And it kind of it circles up into like a corridor, right?
Yeah.
And I'm walking down this hallway, and it's all white. And in front of me, I see a star person, which I'm following. I'm following the star person.
Oh my God.
And it stops and then looks back to see if I'm coming. Like, hey, are you coming? And I literally saw the star person walking, stop, look back at me like, hey, are you coming? And then that was it. That's all I remember. The star person was dressed in a black jumpsuit.
Yeah.
It was a skin tight, black jumpsuit. I didn't see any insignias or anything. It was just straight black. The being had no hair on its head. It was a large grayish blue looking skin tone. And it had a large head, like a bulbous head.
Yeah.
And all I remember seeing is that looking back, and I saw two large dark eyes.
Oh.
Basically, and what I got from that was like, hey, are you coming? Just checking on me, make sure I'm following them. So I woke up and I recalled that dream, and it was so vivid. Like, how you dream and you're like, yeah, it was a dream. But sometimes you're like, I don't know, that was really like
something
lifelike.
else.
It didn't feel like a dream,
Yeah, like it almost felt like very realistic in a sense. Because you had your dreams and your realistic-ish dreams, but the ones where you're like, okay, this was practically an outer body experience.
Right.
Because it could have been your soul aboard the craft and stuff like that.
Right. So I recalled that dream and I was like, wow. And then I remembered that they were in my room right before I fell asleep. And I was like, I don't think this was a dream,
Oh.
And what I usually do is I go into meditation and I get more answers. So that evening, well, actually it was before work. So maybe like 4 hours later, I go into meditation. I do my meditation, or I do my things and I get into a meditation and I focused on that dream and started playing it back in my head while I was meditating. And I was like, was this the dream? And I heard, no. I was like, okay, so I was really on this craft? They're like, yes. Yeah. And they said, yes, I could hear them talking to me as I'm in meditation. And I go, okay, why was I there? And as soon as I asked, why was I there? This overwhelming feeling of love swept over me. Yeah. And it was so much love. And not only was it a feeling of love, but it was a feeling of family. And it was a feeling of, we are your family. Yes. You were up there because you were coming home is basically what I got.
But then it's like, I'm still here.
I started crying and everything. I was so moved, and I realized that they are my family. And that's what was going on as I was coming back to my family. I was coming home. Yeah. And after that, and then I started like, okay, so I'm coming home. I'm alien, if I'm coming home, then I'm human, but I'm not, right? Mm-hmm. So after that, then I went to work and stuff, and I was thinking about it the whole time and intrigued.
Yeah, that's something that you just can't get off your mind because you just want to go back,
Yeah, just the feeling. What got me was the feeling of love and the family, like they were welcoming me back, and it was just so amazing. So, and then I kind of, let that sink in for a while, but I had this little feeling of wanting to know more. Yeah. Like I want to know more.
Yeah.
And it was actually on the weekend one time, and I didn't plan this or anything, but my wife was taking a nap. My son was taking a nap. My kids are out in the living room. I decided to go in my son's room and lay down and relax and, maybe taking a nap. I don't know. We'll see. And I laid down and I started thinking about it. And I felt my star family connect as I was laying down. I felt their presence and I knew they were there. And I said, I want to know more.
Right. I want to know everything.
Well, I said, hey, I'm glad you're here. I love you. I want to know more. Mm-hmm. And they go, do you really want to know more?
Yes.
They were like, it was kind of like, Are
Like,
you
hello.
sure? Are you sure you want to know more? And I'm like, yes, I do.
Duh.
Like, of course I do. They're like, okay, you asked for it. So I kind of went into this was weird. I went into a laying down meditation on my son's bed, which I don't normally do. So I was laying down and I put in, AirPods, and I was listening to my meditation music and stuff. And I started meditating, and I found myself back on that ship in meditation.
Yes.
I was back up there. And this time there was no other ETs around. There was no other beings around. It was just me, and I had free reign to walk. So
That's so cool.
I started walking down the hallway,
The
right?
same one as before, the corridor looking thing
Yep.
with the white lights.
Right.
Okay.
Started walking down the hallway, and I was guided to a room. I just felt drawn to go to this room.
Yeah.
So I went into this room, and I just remember the doorway being open. I don't remember there being a door or anything. Just remember going into another room, and it was an oval shaped room. And it was probably about the size of, like if you were to open a house, take out all the rooms and just the inner part of the house, it was probably about that size. So it was a large room, and it was oval, and it wasn't quite as lit as the hallway. It was a little dimmer, but what I was focused on was there was something in the middle of the room. And it was like a pod, I know sometimes you see like escape pods on sci-fi movies, like a long pod that somebody could lay down in, right?
Yeah.
There was a pod, and it was white, and it had like a transparent top on it.
Ooh.
And it was literally hovering. There was nothing under it. It was hovering in the middle of the room. So I went over to it.
And what you see, look, wow! I'm just like, I have this movie in my head as we're talking about this. So you walked up to the pod. Did you see anything, or was it empty?
Oh yeah.
Or
Oh yeah. So what I saw, I went up to this pod, and this transparent shield somehow opened up. There was no shield. It was just an open pod.
mm-hmm.
The bottom where the bean was laying had like cushion in it. It had like it almost looked like a leathery cushion. It had like rows of cushions on it, and it looked like it was made of leather, and it just went all the way down the bed of the pod. Laying on that cushion was an Arcturian, and this Arcturian had like a white robe on. Okay. It was like a white robe, and I got to literally stand there and analyze every part of this Arcturian. I mean, I saw its head. I saw all the way down to its shoulders. I saw its arms. The robe was so long that I couldn't see the feet. Like the robe was covering the feet or whatever. But this Arcturian was different. It was different from the one that I saw in the hallway.
From before, in the black jumpsuit with the gray bluish skin. Okay.
Right.
So how was this one different?
This one felt older. It felt like an ancient Arcturian, like it's been around for like a royalty. It felt like it was an elder,
like a master bloodline.
Right. It felt pure. It felt like
goosebumps.
I know, right?
I don't mean to cut off, but just because I had a reading in early January, and it was great confirmation. Like I already knew everything this dude was telling me, and he didn't know me, and I don't have that stuff public. And he literally said, you have a type of Arcturian bloodline, but it's not the traditional Arcturian. I'm seeing you with the crown, so I guess a master bloodline. So when you said that, I got chills. I was like, because I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. And then Lily, who brought you to me and who got us talking, she literally mentioned the same thing. How she was like, it was like she was trying to intentionally talk to Arcturian, but at the same time, it wasn't. So I'm like, maybe it's that
Right.
master bloodline that the guy
Right.
was talking about. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, keep going.
So yeah, I got the feeling that this being was Arcturian, but
Yeah,
older and
yeah.
ancient and an elder and pure blood or whatever,
Oh,
The one in the hallway was a different subspecies or whatever, was Arcturian, but it was a different subspecies. There's many different species of Arcturian. Some are tall, some are short, some have different skin colors, stuff like that. This one, I got to analyze the whole thing. And I knew it was female. Just by looking at it, I knew it was a female.
yeah. The
And I
the
was like,
knowing. Yeah.
and I think what got me the most was the skin. The skin was this amazing blue. Like it wasn't like a gray blue. It was like it's hard to explain. It was it wasn't deep blue. It was kind of, and it wasn't light blue. It's hard to explain the color of it. It was between dark and light, but it was very exuberant. It had like a very rich color to it. Almost getting into that turquoise, but not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The skin was a beautiful blue, blue. And I did not touch the skin, but I knew that what it felt like. And it had like a velvety feel to it. It's very soft, very velvety. Like if you were to touch it, it would feel like a velvet or something so soft.
That is wild.
The skin was so blue and it was so amazing. I found colors that are kind of, that kind of replicate it, but it was an amazing skin color. That head was large, right? So it had a slightly larger head. The eyes had pupils.
Unlike the other one.
Unlike the other one, which were totally black.
Yeah.
The eyes had pupils, but the pupils were very large. So it was almost, you could barely see the white going around the eye.
Kind of like a Pixar character.
Yeah, because the pupils were so large.
Yeah.
But the eyes were gorgeous. I mean, it was just like, they were big, big like the other ones, but they had large pupils and you could actually see white around the eyes. And it had a small nose. There wasn't really any nose protruding out. It was just kind of a small two little holes there, and a small slit for a mouth. Not much of a mouth, but the eyes and the large head, the skin, and then I worked my way down, and the robe stopped like about here, right? And I could see this blue skin, and it had 3 fingers and a thumb.
Oh.
It had 3 fingers and a thumb. Yep.
Oh my God. I'm loving this. Like, I literally have a perfect movie reel going on in my head right now as you're talking about this.
And so I followed all the way down. I couldn't see the feet. The feet were covered up by the robe. But I knew. And I questioned the feet in my head. And and automatically the knowing came back. 3 toes. 3
Just like
toes,
the hands,
large, skinny feet.
Wow. So
I'm standing there.
Wow. Oh.
I'm standing there, right, analyzing this amazing, just gorgeous looking Arcturian.
Oh.
And then I asked, who is this? And this is where I about lost it.
Oh, God.
I asked, okay, so who is this?
Oh, God.
They said, well, it's you. And I literally...
Almost like Avatar. So sorry,
I promise you, I am not using Avatar or anything to make this up.
No. No, absolutely no. I believe you 1,000%. But I'm saying that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like when the human self was in the pod. Oh, snap. Because we technically have like multi-dimensional aspects. So it's like your human self is here while your Arcturian self is up there.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm standing there. They told me, well, it's you.
Oh.
And the next thing that I see my human hand reach out, and I see the Arcturian hand hold my human hand.
Oh my God, my heart.
And I literally I literally lost it. I was like, after that, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done.
What?
And the next thing I remember is being back in my bed, just weeping and just like so overwhelmed. And they said, you need to go to sleep now.
Because
And I
that's a
said, I
lot to take
can't.
in.
I can't go to sleep. I'm so overwhelmed and just
Yeah.
so spun up. I can't go to sleep. And they're like, well, you need to think about something that will calm you down. I was like, okay. And so I thought about my kids and how much I love my kids. And that calmed me down enough to actually fall back asleep. And I took a nap and recovered from that. And I remember waking up after a nap and, recalling it, and it kind of integrated into me, and, I felt better about it. But at the time I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, this is too much for me right now.
That's a lot to take in too, because it's like that's probably the one thing you least expected was the fact that that was also you.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's beautiful.
it was beautiful, but it was also overwhelming to
Yeah.
know it was me, and to see both hands holding each other. That was just crazy.
That's wow.
And so
That's great.
after that, I've kind of let that sink in and everything. An interesting thing that I want to say is I was outside meditating one day.
Yeah.
And I love to meditate outside. I love to ground myself in the earth and meditate. Now, I usually talk to Sasquatch out there and stuff. But I was out there in a deep meditation. It was really deep this time. And my son comes running out. And I was told that my son is a starseed. So he has the ability to see things that most people don't. He comes running out while I'm in meditation to ask me a question or something. So I come out of meditation and he's there tapping me, Dad, Dad. And then he stops and looks at me. I go, what? What, son? And he goes, he's looking at me all over and he goes, Dad, you're blue. I'm, I'm like, what do you mean I'm blue? He's like, you're blue, Dad. I'm like, where am I blue? He's like, you're blue all over. I'm like, and then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been meditating, deep meditation. My energy, my aura's coming out, right? And he caught that. And he's a starseed, so he can see those things. And he asked me after I said, oh, that's awesome. Thank you, And then he asked me a question and he ran off. But I thought that was crazy that he saw me just all blue.
That's wild. Like literally, that Violet girl from the Willy Wonka movies. Like you're just all blue. So was it the aura, or he actually saw like your skin pigmentation?
It was my aura.
Oh, okay.
So
That's cool.
My aura, and then after that got me thinking about, wanting to know a little bit more and stuff. And I went into meditation, connected with them, and started getting, descriptive answers. So basically, what I saw in that pod is me. And my name is Athena. So I am Athena of Arcturus. And I don't know if you've ever heard about the Arcturians' best starship. It's called the Athena.
I think so, because I'm currently working on a Word doc that's like 20 pages long, and I'm pretty sure I came across Athena somewhere.
Right. So, and it's the Arcturians' most amazing starship. It was built actually after me, and it's actually orbiting the Earth as we speak. So it's up there.
Wait, I literally have that. Yes. And the fact, like, I just wanted to say is the fact that you're in not that you wouldn't, but the fact that you're embracing your child's gifts too. That's
Right.
amazing, because children have so many gifts and so many parents shut that down, and you'd be surprised how much your kid actually knows.
Yeah, there's a lot
So
of
that's
special
awesome that you're
starseed
that
children
like your
coming in.
blood is passed through, and even
Right.
your children are embracing this.
Right.
Wow.
So yes, I was told that I'm Athena of Arcturus. I am a high elder on the Council of Light, and I have been an Arcturian for many, many years. Like, I am one of the oldest Arcturians that's actually alive right now.
Which makes sense with the master bloodline thing.
Right.
I'm curious what the difference is, because with me, I'm still slowly trying to find more about who I was, because I had dreams about all kinds of stuff when I was younger. Back in 8th grade, to put in perspective, which is like 2009, 2010, I was also in a spaceship. And I remember feeling an entity to my left and showing me stuff, which I'll talk about in a different video another time, because I don't want to take away your time. But it's really, really hard to get through to them almost, and to have them bring you up there and show you stuff. And maybe it's just because of the area I'm in, but I'm curious what like the differences between the master bloodlines and like the regular ones. I don't know if it's like skill or
It is.
like
It's a
hierarchy.
combination. It's a combination. The master bloodlines are the original bloodlines that were created, their original species, right?
That makes sense.
So
Why
they
we're the
have the
oldest shit.
purest bloodline, the purest DNA. They're usually some of the highest consciousness beings of that species.
That makes sense.
From there, their bloodlines have been genetically modified and altered that created branches of their species. So the Arcturian that I saw out in the hallway was a genetically modified version of my bloodline.
Got it.
And
The
it
one,
just
like
kind
the one
of
with the
they just
black
kind of
eyes.
the
Yeah.
tree just kind of spreads from that one point, right?
Yeah.
So the master bloodlines are that one point, the originals, the original bloodline. And then they
That's
just
so
kind of,
cool.
and there's different varieties. They can be small, like there's 3 to 4 feet Arcturians. I am a 7.5 foot tall one. The one in the hallway was about the same size. So there's different versions of them.
Yeah.
But I've been around, Athena's been around for thousands and
Long
thousands
time.
of years. She's incarnated so many different times onto Earth to help Earth. And the way she does it is she's a very high dimensional being. So she currently resides in the 9th dimension, but she can come down to the 5th dimension. But the highest she goes is the 9th dimension.
That's interesting.
So in that, I was told how that pod works. So that pod that she's in, she crawls into it, and time's different there. So when they're up there and they're, living in me for a day, it's not very long up there.
Yeah.
So
I remember that feeling
she
too.
crawls into the pod, and it takes part of her energy and consciousness and teleports that into a human being.
On Earth. That makes sense.
So she's in many different places at many different times.
I was gonna say, so do you think that she's also not just in you, but other people around the world too? Like, do you think that's
Um,
possible? I'm just
it's
curious.
possible. Yeah, she can incarnate many different times and many different, and it's not. It can be in different timelines as well.
Yeah.
So she can, like, in this timeline, it could be me. In another timeline, it could be somebody else. So I am my soul is just a fraction, just a part of her soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually can see it. So when I meditate, in the middle of my forehead, when I close my eyes, I can actually see a small orb that is her color. It's a blue orb in the middle, like kind of right around where the third eye chakra is.
Yeah.
When I meditate and close my eyes, I can see that blue orb, which is, her. And I can control it. I can expand it over my whole body. I can use that light and that energy, and they've been teaching me how to do that. I can heal with it. I can create a shield around me to protect me from other beings. I can use it to transfer energy to people and stuff like that. But it usually resides just like a small little orb right here. And depending on how I think and what I want to do, then it expands.
Dang.
So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I've been learning, how to use it, and I actually healed myself from COVID. And I had my whole family got COVID recently, and I was sick. I had all the symptoms, and was not feeling well.
Yeah.
And I went outside, and I was told to heal myself. So I went outside and laid down, and the sun energy's coming down. I had recently been inspired to buy 2 Vogel crystals, and I ended up just getting those. And it's funny because I just got those right before I got COVID. So I had 2 Vogel crystals, and I was told to take them outside with me. I went outside and laid down in my chair, like a lawn chair, and the sun energy's coming down, and I was told how to do a routine mantra kind of thing with my Vogel crystals, how to charge them up to the sun, then lay them on my chest, and then turn them every 5 minutes. And after I went all the way around, that energy would heal me. So at the time I had a fever, I was feeling crappy. I went out and I did that routine, and literally after I got done, my fever had broke. I felt a lot better. And I basically, a day later, I recovered from COVID and I was able to go back to work.
Heck yeah.
So they've been teaching me how to do that. And another thing I can do is I can call ships.
I swear.
I know. It's crazy. It's great. But it's so cool.
Yeah, because it's like, and that's what sucks is that you can't really like just talk about this to anybody because they're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's more than this.
Right.
And especially like, and again, that's why we're here and doing this stuff, because we've all experienced a lot of the similar situations.
Right. And how I can call ships is, I've done it many times, and they kind of come out of the clouds. Because Oregon, it's really cloudy and stuff. And I will literally telepathically just say, hey, I want to see you. I want to see you. And I say it over and over. I have my, heart energy that I send to them. I love them. I want to see you. And I'll see something in the sky just manifest. And it's literally, I've seen them right above me, and it's been saucer shaped. And it's hard to see. Like if somebody was walking by, they wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, it's a full UFO and it physically manifested. It's just enough that I can see the circular shape and see some structure in it and stuff, and they'll manifest over me. I've had a mothership actually manifest out in the horizon and come through the cloud. And you come out of a cloud, they like cloak and almost look like clouds.
Yeah.
But then they can come out of a cloud and kind of show themselves. And I've seen the edge of the saucer come out of the cloud. And and I've actually got pictures. I've took pictures of it. And not only do you see the saucer coming out of the cloud, but you see like light orbs coming out of the craft and shooting out of the craft, like from one end. Yeah. There's like light orbs coming out, like it's dispensing like smaller craft.
Holy crap. Yeah, well, that makes sense. It's some other ship. Did you have pictures of that now? Like
I might have to find them. I don't know where they're at.
No worries. I'm curious though, how'd you know that they were Arcturian? Like you just knew, or did you have like, because like for me, for example, like I didn't know the names until after this whole Starseed Awakening stuff, but at the time, like I could sense, like I just remember being told, like, you call us Arcturians. We don't necessarily call ourselves that, but that's what you call us.
Right. And that's true.
So
that's true.
That's what I remember being told as well.
No, that is true. You know, the names that humans create for them isn't necessarily their real names.
Exactly. It's like something that we can't even say, or something that we don't even know how to say, because
that
it's
goes
just
with
something
Sasquatch
else.
too.
Yeah.
So how I found out I was like Arcturian was after that first dream. I woke up the next morning where I saw the Arcturian, you know, leading me down the hall.
The big black-eyed ones in the jumpsuit. Yeah.
Right. After that one, I told one of my really close friends about it, and she started doing research. You know, she's like, "We got to find out what kind of being that is." And she started doing research, and she showed me a picture of an Arcturian, like a supposed picture of an Arcturian. She goes, I think it's this. And as soon as I looked at the picture and saw it, and it said Arcturian, bam, instant.
Yeah.
It was an instant confirmation for me. And
yeah.
and it's always been backed up.
Yeah.
They've always backed it up.
And especially with the blue skin, that's a big one too.
Right.
Like, yeah, blue beings can be like Lyran and Syrian as well, but the most popular kind of blue beings are the Arcturians. Dang, that's wild. Holy crap. That was a very interesting 30 minutes of just, oh my god, that's awesome. I don't even know how to describe it. Like,
so my first encounter, I haven't even talked about my first encounter with UFO. That was locked away. It happened when I was 7 years old. And I'll kind of mention Sasquatch at this point because they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, we had just moved from Arizona, and we had been in Oregon maybe a year, and my dad ended up moving us out in the country when I was 7 years old. And we moved to this beautiful little house up in the forest. Basically because my dad wanted to get out of town. He didn't like the attitude I was getting in town. I was hanging around with kids, and he didn't like the attitude I was getting. So he's like, yeah, we're going to get out of town.
Yeah.
So at 7 years old, we moved up to this house up in the woods. And shortly after I was there, you know, a few months or whatever after, you know, we moved there, I remember my first encounter was with the Sasquatch. And I was outside, and it was broad daylight, and my family, my dad was inside the house, my mom was inside the house. I think my brother was too, so I was the only one outside. But I was sitting on the porch, and I remember hearing something in the brush. There was a fence, the neighbor's fence was right there. And on the other side of the fence was just a bunch of brush and whatever. So I remember hearing something on the other side of the fence walking around. And at the time, I thought maybe it was a deer or something like that. So I walked over there to a spot and stood there just waiting to see if I could see what was walking around in the brush. And then it started coming towards me. And mind you, I wasn't scared. There was a fence, you know, separating us and everything. So I wasn't really that scared. And I could hear it coming towards me, and it sounded like it was big. I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty big. But being a 7-year-old, I'm just, you know, curious. I wanted to see what it is.
Yeah.
And then it out of the brush, it literally, the Sasquatch kind of clears the brush and steps out into the open and just stands there in front of me and looks at me. And time literally just stopped. When he stepped out and looked at me, time literally seemed to just freeze, like we were in our own moment. And he was a 9-foot tall Sasquatch. He was completely black. He had 2 dark eyes, like nocturnal eyes, right? They're all dark. Wide shoulders, you know, he was huge. He had a very human-looking nose. His skin was kind of a bluish gray. And he was just standing there looking at me. And I'm just standing there looking at him. And time froze. And the feeling that I got from him was like we were old friends. You know, he was expecting me. It felt like he was expecting me, and he came to introduce himself. And he was the warm family feeling I got from him didn't cause me to be scared or anything. It was like I was, you know, part of his family, and that he was glad to see me. And we just stood there, and time just stood still. And then he gave me like a little crooked, like, you know, grin, and then turned around and walked back into the brush and disappeared. And then,
like, hey, what's your name?
Yeah. Well, I found it out later, but time literally kind of kicked back in. And then he suppressed that memory as he walked away. He suppressed it in my consciousness. And I literally was standing there and, like, you know, looking around like, okay, I'm over here now, you know? And then my 7-year-old self just went back and started, you know, playing or doing whatever I was doing. But it wasn't until a little while later, usually, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, is when I was actually unable to unlock that memory in meditation. And when I unlocked it, it all flooded back all at once. And it was just like a download. And I was like, oh, you know.
Yeah, downloads are intense.
But that was the first encounter with the Sasquatch I had. Then shortly after that, I had my first UFO encounter that was suppressed as well.
But that wasn't the teardrop one, because that one you were at work. So what was the...
This one was suppressed, and I was 7 years old as well. This happened shortly after I had my first encounter with that Sasquatch. So it was nighttime. It was really late. I was laying in my bed, sleeping, and I remember waking up out of the middle of nowhere, and it's dark, and I just had this magnetic pull and this urge to go outside. And it was almost like I was in a trance or something. I just knew I had to go outside for some reason.
Yeah.
And I didn't question it. I just got out of my bed and started walking outside. And I walked out the front door, and right out our front door, there's a porch, and then there's a roof over the porch. So I opened the door, and I could see like lights from above being cast down on the ground. So I knew there was something above that had lights on it. And I could see like a reddish blue, white kind of flashing going on the ground, you know, that was coming from above. So I opened the door and I saw that, and I had to go out there and look and see what it was. So I walked outside at night and went from out underneath the roof and looked up, and there's literally a circular UFO hovering right there. And it wasn't very big. It was probably maybe 20 to 30 feet across in diameter.
Oh yeah, that's not too big at all.
So it was one of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And it was hovering literally maybe 30 or 40 feet off the ground. It was right above my house. And the lights were alternating. So it was like blue, red, white, blue, red, white, you know, and it was just sitting there. And I just looked, and I was like, just looking at it. I just remember looking at it like, wow.
That's pretty.
And that's literally the last thing I remember. I remember seeing it physically, and that was it. That's all I remember. I don't know if I went back to bed or they took me or what. And I've never
that was suppressed.
That was the first time, that was suppressed after that. And when I unlocked that first Sasquatch encounter, it unlocked that one as well.
Dang. I would have been like, hey, where's the party at? You're alternating with these colors. And
I actually
partied up in space.
And I told Lily this, but on my right leg, when I was born, I have a star birthmark on my right leg. Yep.
Oh,
Right
that's
now,
cool.
as I've grown up and, my skin's stretched and changed and stuff as I've grown up, it doesn't quite look like a star anymore, but you can definitely see 3 points, but the 2 points kind of went in a little bit and it's kind of stretched out a little bit. But when I was young, my dad told me you had a birthmark that looked just like a 5-point star.
Literally starseed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just amazing to.
Wow. Thank you for sharing these. This is different in a good way. Like, wow. But I've never heard of somebody having like a star birthmark.
My encounters with my Arcturian family. I mean, I have a purpose here. I have a twofold purpose. My initial purpose is to help people understand the Sasquatch and who they are and what they're doing here, and the Sasquatch want to connect with humanity. So
what are they doing here?
Main purpose. And then my other purpose is to help humanity raise their consciousness, in love and light,
Yeah.
We're all here doing the same thing. We're trying to awaken and raise our consciousness.
Amen to that.
So
holy crap. Well, so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt at that point, but why are the Sasquatch here? What do they do?
The Sasquatch have been here for a very long time. They're one of the first beings that were seeded by the star people on this planet.
Oh, have you seen it? Do you know what Gaia is?
Yeah, I've watched Gaia before.
Do you know the show Initiation with Matthias Stefano?
I haven't seen it in a while, so no.
Literally, season 2, one of the first couple episodes, or like one of the last 2 episodes of season 1, literally talked about a species called the Nemnir. And they were tall, hairy beings that resided in the Antarctica region.
Really?
Yes, I'm not kidding. Because that's been part of my research, because I plan to do a galactic history video. It's been like 5-6 plus months in the making because it's a lot of research. But that was one of the resources I went to, was this show, because a lot of sources talk about the same stuff. So I'm trying to
right.
But literally one of the first the first seeded beings, he said, were called the Nemnir, and they were literally tall, hairy beasts.
Wow.
So it's kind of funny that you said that, because he also said that.
That's cool.
You need to see that. You need to see that. I'll totally tell you the name on Instalator just to remind you.
For sure.
That's funny.
Yeah, so the Sasquatch have been here for eons. They've been here since the Earth, started to support life, and then animals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're one of the first higher consciousness beings to be seated here. And they were seated here to be caretakers of the Earth, to watch over the Earth.
Yes, they were.
And not only help other beings that come to evolve in their consciousness on this planet and have this experience. So they've been here a long time. They've seen a lot of things. Wow. Their Earth wisdom is just mind-blowing.
Because they're so old. They've literally been here for a long time.
Yes, they're so ancient and they're so beautiful. They just have an ancient look to them, and they were here when the dinosaurs were here. They've seen a lot that happened to this planet.
They have.
There was wars. They've been through wars.
I'm telling you, you have to watch that. Because the host doesn't talk too much about them, but he literally says they're one of the first people seeded on this planet from the cosmos. They resided in the ice. They were protectors of the Earth, but specifically one of the things that they did was supposedly protect the ice, because water is such a strong molecular compound. It exists in many places throughout the universe. Right. It's more than just H2O. Right. And that's why water is so healthy for us, is because supposedly the molecules holds the DNA of all the ethereal, and that apparently the Nemnir, or the Sasquatch, were also guardians of the ice back in the Ice Age.
Nice.
So that makes sense with what you're saying. That's wild. It's like 2 perspectives. Literally, there's a bridge there. We are past the point of coincidences, people.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It just starts getting put together like a puzzle,
Literally, that's what we're saying. It's like we all have little pieces of this 5,000 piece puzzle, And we all got like little pieces we're putting in together.
And when the pieces get put together, like what just happened right now,
yeah,
the consciousness changes. It starts
it's
raising
like,
automatically. The
yeah.
vibration starts raising. I mean, things
Yep.
are happening. It's
Wow.
amazing. And
That's so cool.
it's so beautiful that this divine cosmic plan is just coming together, and just it's going to open like a beautiful flower.
It is. It really is. And that's what's so cool, is that we get to experience this firsthand. We get to work with this firsthand, and yeah, it's beautiful. Holy crap.
Like when humanity's consciousness raises to a certain level and we become evolved to a certain level where we do away with fear and violence and hatred.
Yep.
That's when things are going to get very interesting.
Yes, they will.
I mean, many beings behind the scenes are going to greet us. There's going to be there's going to be a great event that's going to happen where we reach a certain consciousness, and it's like everybody's like, okay, humanity's ready, and there's a great reunion, and the Sasquatch will come out of hiding, the inner Earth people are going to come out, the star people are going to land,
and they're all going to be like,
a great event.
We tried to tell y'all that we were here, but you threw all the evidence in the loony bins.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing these. Seriously. I don't mean to go past an hour, but I do have three more questions, if that's okay, and anything else on your checklist that we can run across.
I'm pretty much done with my checklist, so ask away.
Oh, well, hey, perfect. So the next question I have, and again, you don't have to answer every question, or if something doesn't feel comfortable for you to answer, no obligations. But the next one on the list, because you're literally perfectly going in order without me even telling you, so thank you.
Nice.
But my next question is, what are your current psychic gifts, if you happen to have any?
So I'm evolving in my healing and using my Arcturian energy.
Yeah.
But mainly right now, my psychic gift is telepathy and being able to, read something and know it, and also talk telepathically to higher dimensional beings. That's my main purpose, is to be a messenger. I'm a messenger for the Sasquatch and a messenger for the star people. I'm here to get the message out to humanity about how we need to change and how we need to raise our consciousness to be able to experience the highest version of ourselves, and to also, welcome in our brothers and sisters all over the world that are in the stars, they're in the earth, they're in the forests, to come and, unite with us again.
Yeah.
So it's very much, meditation, telepathic communication, giving messages that come from star people, Sasquatch, mermaids, giants. In meditation, I've experienced so many different types of beings, and they've all like talked to me in meditation that I'm writing a book about it right now. So
no, how close are you to being done? Because I'll still get that.
I'm procrastinating on it, but it's going to be a little while. So
that's fine. Obviously, I'll stay in contact with you over Insta. So I want to be one of the first ones to read it, low key. I'll totally get that. That sounds cool. So what would the book basically run through, like the contents?
So that's actually, I'm doing one book that's mainly deals with the Sasquatch and my experiences with the Sasquatch. And then the other book is all my other experiences in meditation and my communications with other beings. That's cool. It goes from, the star people to Sasquatch to the mere people that live in the oceans and the waters.
Yeah.
They were actually one of the first beings as well to be on the earth with the Sasquatch people, or the fish people, or the mere people.
Yeah.
There's giants. There's giants that are still on earth, 50-foot tall giants. They're still here. There's all kinds of different types of beings. Dogmen that are with the Sasquatch that look like, werewolves, but they're not mean. They're just as loving as the Sasquatch are. There are some, rogue ones that are mean. But I've talked to many different types of beings, and I just get, they talk to me and I just get their message out, basically.
That's awesome. And it's such a beautiful gift, too, because, again, you could have so many answers than you realize just by talking to these beings.
Right. And right now we're going through such a huge awakening and a huge vibratory shift.
Yes, we are.
That is, lots of things are going to happen this year. Lots of things are going to happen this year.
I remember literally being told that 2022 was going to be the year where things start to make sense.
Yep.
Which it's happening.
Yeah.
Like literally on the 3rd was my reading of the dude saying, oh yeah, Orion and Arcturian with other beings and stuff. Like it was a fat confirmation. I was like, let's keep the train rolling. Like I'm curious what's going to happen at the end of February at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing year for everybody. There's a lot of people it's a bumpy ride for a lot of people,
It is.
It's going to be a bumpy ride for them, but it's happening for everybody's well-being and everybody's involvement in their consciousness. Sometimes it's going to be rough, but it's for their own good.
Yeah.
They got to heal those past karmas. They got to come to terms with themselves, and they've got to evolve in their consciousness and understand what's really important in life,
Other than the top TikTok trend and some ridiculous challenge that puts their health at stake.
Right.
Like, there's so many things that are not prioritized. And of course, there's more than just that. But a lot of people literally lost touch.
Yes.
And not just that, but we have so many things that want to shut down the spiritual side, whether it's because of traditional norms or religions. Like so many just shut that down. And it's like, but it has more truth than you think.
Right. But, it's always been a battle. It's been a battle of
Yes, it has.
Consciousness. It's a consciousness battle, There's powers out there that have been defeated already, that we're trying to control your consciousness and keep it at a low rate.
Yeah.
Keep it at a low vibratory rate. But now you're seeing that since they've been defeated, the consciousness is automatically rising on its own.
It is.
And you're seeing that all around you.
Yes.
So, everybody's starting to raise their consciousness. They're starting to see through the bullshit, so to speak.
Yes.
They're like, okay, this is not working. This is not serving us. This is not how we need to be, living as humanity. We need to change, and it's happening. It's going to be a little rough, but, these are the necessary growing pains that need to happen when, a consciousness raises.
Amen to that.
You got to break those old paradigms,
Yep. And that's why we're awakening now, because between me and Lily and other people I've talked to and third-party folks that end up doing research online, all of us happen to come to the conclusion that stuff is going to happen in 10 plus years time, maybe 10 or 15. But that's why we're awakening now, because there's so many people to get the message across. And, the more that the message is spread, it's just going to be exponential from there.
And time is a funny thing. It really depends on us. It could be quick, depending on how we, respond and act, or it could take a little bit. But it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's guaranteed. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take.
Yeah, hopefully not terribly long, but I definitely feel it would be in our time period. It's a constant red versus blue battle. Like that's one thing that I came to the conclusion recently, was that aside from my own personal motives between red and blue, I noticed that red is like here, the physical, and blue is the ethereal. There's constant red versus blue in a lot of places. One of the biggest ones that I've seen is Sonic and Dr. Eggman. Sonic is blue, Dr. Eggman's red, Lilo and Stitch. And, red pill, blue pill from the Matrix, red versus blue from Halo, if you like Rooster Teeth or anything like that. Like I noticed red versus blue is a big common theme. Science and consciousness. Science and spirit. There's a constant battle of red versus blue. And honestly, it's going to balance like Mr. Krabs, red wearing blue. It's going to be balanced as one. It's just going to take time, unfortunately.
So something amazing just happened.
What?
I literally just had a light bulb come on, and my star family literally just sent me a message. You said red, blue,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And do you remember when I was talking about that first UFO encounter?
Yes. Oh, yeah, the lights.
The lights.
Yeah.
So there was red, blue, and white.
White for purity.
White is the inclusion of everything. So you're talking about red, blue, then there's white, which is the inclusion of everything together.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, I'm getting so buzzed right now.
But that's
They're
number
literally-
2. That's the second zing, or the second puzzle piece that we brought together literally in this hour and pushing 11 minutes.
So that's a huge message right now is you have
Yeah.
the dualities. You have the red,
Yes, the duality. Yes.
the blue. We need to come to a white. We need to come to include everything as a whole. We are one. We are one people. We are one species. We are all in this together. We need to come to a white. We do not need to see red and blue.
Sorry,
They literally just gave that to me right now.
Like seriously, so to whoever's watching, I'm gonna have to put in the description that this is pre-recorded, but this is literally our genuine reaction, and that's why I like doing this and not really like talking about too much over text, because like the genuine reaction, and I like the face, because I'm so over the texting, but
Yeah.
it's not like we're next door neighbors or anything, so it's like this is literally our genuine reactions. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and it literally just happened. I mean, things are happening right now
As we speak.
as we speak. Messages.
Can I get a cam vibe? Can I get a cam vibe? Wow.
Wow, it's awesome. I have known about that UFO experience for a while.
Yeah.
And did not put those lights together like that.
Well, it's
Red,
actually
blue,
kind of
white.
messed up, because I'm gonna have to do a YouTube video on this, but I came across something very, very important from my childhood. And when I watched it, like, this was, and I can't spoil it, but this was one movie, the only movie that I could recite start to finish, every dialogue, every line, every sound, every scene. Like, it was drilled in my head. And then it wasn't until recently when I'm gonna have to do a video on this whole experience in itself, that I just rewatched the movie to go down childhood lane. And a specific spot in the movie, and again, I can't spoil it, I was like, hold the hell on. And I completely threw out the movie out my head, and I treated it as I've never seen it before and looked at it from a Starseed perspective.
Nice.
And that's how I learned about the whole red versus blue thing. I was like, it's like they drilled this in our heads from a young age. You with your experiences when you were 7, me watching that particular movie at definitely 7, 8 years old and reciting that to the T. Like, people who knew me growing up knew I was obsessed with this particular franchise. So it makes a lot of sense now. It's like, y'all were warning me about this.
You just revealed a huge secret to humanity. You know what you just said? You said you literally took that experience of that movie, tossed it out, and you re-experienced it with no judgment, nothing, just like you were experiencing it for the first time in the now.
Literally.
That's what we need to do.
Yes. And so many people are like so quick to shut it down. I came across this meme that somebody drew, and I know that there's other things besides TikTok, but he drew like this, I guess, like content creator in a TikTok hoodie, and he had his phone in his hand shrugging, and there were 2 little like aliens in front of him, like, look, we exist. And he's like, so? And I'm just like, yep, that's the world we live in right now. And plus, a lot of people are so quick to say it's CGI, but I'm like, I know it's not, because if you're familiar with Blink-182, Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge, he started a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
For years. And his To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science and those 3 videos that were leaked, that's not CGI. So y'all can relajate and trust us on this, please. But sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but I do have 2 more questions. The next one is, what is your best piece of evidence? And I know that's like kind of like a touchy question, but if you basically came across somebody on the street and they're like, okay, show me right now that you're not nuts, what would be your piece of evidence?
So that's hard for me because, I mean, I have evidence, and I am really against evidence. Especially with Sasquatch. Sasquatch, they're really evidence hungry. They want to see footage. They want to see this. They want to see that. So you can prove to them they exist.
Yeah.
And I've really backed off evidence and backed off promoting evidence because it's a 3D physical thing. And we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to get away from connecting to physical 3D things, and we're trying to rise above that and get to a heart space and experience it. And when you experience something, that is the best evidence. You experience it, you feel it, you smell
Firsthand,
it.
yeah.
I mean, that is your truth. And what I always tell people is if they say, well, show me your evidence, I want to see your best picture. I say, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not going to do you any good.
They're still going to
What's
judge it.
Yep, you're still going to judge it. Your ego is going to say that's fake, and you're going to throw it away. What I always do is I said the best thing I can tell you to do is go out and have your own experience.
And have an
Go
open mind.
have an open mind. Go have your own experience. Once you experience that for yourself and you feel it and you see it or whatever, that's your truth. That's going to be
Yeah.
what's going to ring true to you. No photo, no nothing is going to ultimately change your mind. It's going to be your own experience. And that sends them out to try to connect on their own and connect in a higher way, you know. So that's what I always say. If somebody comes up to me and asks me that, sorry, I'm not here to throw pictures at you and say, I hope you believe.
Because they're going to be skeptical either way. Even you could literally put something right in front of them and they'll be like, that was made by hand.
I've
Well, made by
literally,
humans.
I
And it's
know. And
like,
my father, I'm really close to my father. Back behind his house, I took a picture. I actually got a Sasquatch on video,
yeah,
and I showed him a snapshot of the Sasquatch. And you can see his face. You see his human-like nose, and you can see his nostrils. I showed it to him. I said, I took this right behind your house, right up there. And he looks at it. And I said, do you see what I'm talking about? You see the nose, nostrils. Can you see that? He's like, yeah, I see what you're talking about, but I don't know. I just, and he automatically shut it down. It's like if they don't
uh,
want to see it and they're not ready to see it, then they can be looking right at it and they won't see it.
yeah. And that's why it's like with our feelings that well, not feelings, we know that they're going to be coming back.
Right.
We know that they're going to come back. And the moment that happens, a lot of people are going to be like, damn, I wish I listened sooner. It's hard to persuade people that, hey, there's something bigger than what's going on here. And especially without them automatically throwing you in the loony bin, it's like,
Yeah, I was
but
told
you're
that,
right. The experience is everything.
right. I was told that everybody is on their own course. Everybody's on their
Yes.
own path, their
Yes.
evolutionary path. We
Yes.
can throw seeds out there to kind of say, hey, follow this way or go this way, but they're on their own path. They're going to
They
get there
are.
eventually. And, we have to respect that.
Yes. And to add to that, and this is funny because one of the second interviewee I had, his name is Benji. He's also Arcturian.
Oh, really?
Very, very strong with Arcturian as well. But before I had him on here, actually, before I thought about doing these interviews in the first place, me and him were talking about the messages that we were told above before coming down here. And this was, again, a dream I had in 8th grade, like 2009, 2010, way before all this stuff even happened. Like, I remember being told about COVID, Biden vaccine, the virus, a bunch of other crap. But one of the things that they mentioned was that you will be the first to awaken. And for you in particular, you're going to meet people internationally through a technological device that humans make in the future. And then they go on to describe applications, but they don't say applications. And then they go on to say you're going to meet people through Instagram, but they don't say Instagram. They're like,
Right.
you'll know. And they'll
Wow.
help you to remember who you are, and you'll help them remember who they are to spread the message. And slowly you guys will eventually spread out to local people. However, recruit who you can. It's going to be hard. Be very brave. Recruit who you can. People are going to have to suck it up either way because we're coming back, is basically what they were saying.
Right.
Recruit who you can. If anything happens, just don't worry about the haters because we're coming back either way. Like literally,
Right.
they were saying stuff like that. And Benji told me that message without me even telling him that. And I was like,
Wow.
I was like, you too? But we're also Arcturian. So it makes
Right.
sense. And especially with what you were just saying,
Yep.
we were all told a very similar message.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
Yep.
So we know that there's something coming, and buckle up. It's going to be freaking awesome. I can't
Oh, yeah.
wait.
Yep. Yeah. I'm
Ah.
ready.
Oh, me too. I'm ready. Well, the last question I do have, well, it's not really a question, but if you happen to have any sources or tips for those who are still slowly awakening, or if there's anything that you'd like to add.
Okay. So like I said, everybody's on their own unique path to awakening. It's not going to be like anybody else. It's going to be specifically tailored for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be beautiful. I mean, awakening is a beautiful thing.
It is.
But it can also be a little rough. I mean, it can, awakening can be rough. You've got to do a lot of healing of, past karmas. You're going to start, having these abilities that just awaken within you. You're going to start basically becoming who you're supposed to be. And the best thing that I can suggest that works for me, and it doesn't always work for everybody, is to meditate. And to take time out, at least 3 times a week, if not 5 days out of the week, and just take time and find your way to meditate. Meditation can be, the way I meditate is I listen to earbuds and I listen to some soothing music. It could be a tone, it could be meditation music. I really love Native American flute.
Yes.
I listen to something that really speaks to my soul, and I will get comfortable, and I literally meditate in a lounge chair. I don't have to be in the lotus position.
No.
So, I mean, it's good to align your chakras and everything, but you don't have to. Just find what works for you and try to meditate and try to go within and remember who you are. And also another big thing is we have to start treating our bodies a lot better. We have to eat better, drink lots of water, exercise, because if you're trying to awaken, your body is going to fight you because it's not at a point where it can awaken. So we have to get away from all these chemical laden foods that they're feeding us. We have to get away from, just the stuff that isn't good for us, and try to become more natural, more organic. Start working with herbs, learn how to, what the medicinal purposes of herbs are.
Yes.
Drink lots of water. That's the biggest thing, is drink lots of water. People don't drink a lot of water these days. They soda, coffee. I mean, I drink coffee.
Yeah.
But, drink lots of water, find a way to eat better. Unfortunately, red meats are not the way to go. I love steak. I grew up on steak. I grew up on red meats.
Yeah.
But they're so dense. You are what you eat. And if you eat dense foods like meat, red meat, it's going to be hard for your body to raise up that frequency. You start eating live veggies, salads, vegetables, fruits are the best thing to eat, nuts, and drink lots of water. Your body is going to just thank you, and you're going to awaken quicker.
Absolutely. Completely agree on that. And I don't know about you, but some of the people who I've been slowly helping to awaken with this whole starseed topic, them and I, and assuming you and your families as well, or anybody else you might know, it's like your body subconsciously fighting the food. Right. Like my boyfriend's family was getting excuse me, basically they brought home burgers. And I was super grateful, you know, they were giving me food. I took a bite and I wanted to throw up.
Exactly.
And I haven't been able to eat steak in like 3 months, and I finally was able to eat one recently, but probably because I was stupid hungry. But other than that, I have not been able to eat red meat. Microwavable foods, I really can't unless I'm absolutely starving in the night and I absolutely have to. It's like your body subconsciously like reprogramming itself
It
without
is.
you even
Yep.
realizing it. And it's happening to a lot of people. And they're like, why is this happening to my body? Like for me, literally up until that one steak recently, I could only eat fruits, veggies, grains, and carbs. I could not
Right.
eat anything else, even
Yep.
chicken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell's happening to me?
Yeah, your body will tell you. It'll literally tell you when you're not supposed to be doing something. If you listen to your
Amen.
body, they're like, no, you don't need to eat that.
Nope.
You can hold your hand over a piece of food, and you can feel whether you need to eat it or not.
Yeah.
Like if you hold your hand over a raw steak and then hold your hand over like a piece of lettuce or something, you can feel the difference.
Yes, you can.
Over the lettuce, you can feel your hand tingling with the vibration, saying, "Hey, you need to eat that," and then
Yes.
don't eat the red meat.
Absolutely
But,
not. And it's so sad that like organic foods and produce, like all the healthy stuff's so expensive. That's why like once I finish moving, I want to grow my own stuff.
right. Yep.
And it's so sad that all the junk food's stupid cheap. I don't trust the pharmaceutical pills. Honestly, and I don't mind putting this out there until temporarily due to drug tests, I am a fat pothead. But I will never do anything else. But that stuff comes from the earth, right? And there's a
Right.
reason why there's properties that help people with that.
Yes.
And it's
Yep.
like, I don't want to take pills that they make at a lab because I don't know what the hell they're putting in my body.
Right.
And it's like, I can literally grow a pot plant myself,
Right.
which I plan to do because I actually have seeds.
Well,
And it's just, of course, that's illegal, but not cigarettes or vapes or
you have to
alcohol.
ask yourself. I mean, you see all. I mean, look through the BS. You
Exactly.
see that the system is purposely
Yes, it is.
trying to put you down. It's literally feeding you to keep your vibration down. It's
Yes.
literally pumping chemicals into the air. It's
Yep.
literally putting, stuff into your drinking water. I mean, once you start seeing the bullshit, you can see that there's a system in place to keep you down. And when you see through it and you start changing your behavior because you're like, I'm not drinking that, I'm not eating that, I'm not doing that to my body, I see that it's not good for me, then your consciousness raises and you start seeing beyond the veil, so to speak.
Yes, you do. Say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah. So,
That was awesome. Well, just stick around for a second while I wrap this up because obviously I would like to say goodbye in a more than quick sense of this. So, do you have anything else you would like to add or?
just that I love all of you that are watching this and you're here for a reason. So
Amen.
embrace that reason and go out and love people and send them your light. That's what we're here to do.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mike. So thank you to everybody for watching this. Yes, this was pre-recorded due to scheduling and stuff, which is totally fine. So this will be posted later at night. So for all of you that were watching, thank you for tuning in. And I hope you spread the word on this because there is a huge shift that's happening right now and we have to help each other out. And thank you for Mike for being here and sharing your stories. Those were absolutely amazing. And to everybody again who's watching, thank you for being here and viewing this is a huge support for the channel. And if anybody's new here, welcome. If you would like to share your own Starseed experiences, feel free to hit me up. If you have any questions on Mike and the Sasquatch stuff, I did drop links in the description. He has his own Sasquatch website. And actually, could you tell us about that real quick? Like what's on the website real quick? Like if you could, a couple seconds.
So basically, my website is OregonSasquatchEncounter.com. And it's a pretty general website. It just kind of goes through what I'm doing with the Sasquatch, why I'm promoting the website, and I've got some videos down below, some contact information to get a hold of me. If you want to talk to me, we can get together if you're locally or not. And if you want to know more about the Sasquatch and pursue a spiritual experience with them, that's what I'm here to do.
Sweet. Thank you. And again, everyone that watched, thank you for sticking around. And until next time, We will see y'all for another interview. Live long and prosper, fellow light beings.